perspective, but we'll find out. For sure, uh, regardless of whatever their leanings are, they're familiar with Srimad Bhagavatam, at least to some extent, as much as they're familiar with Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. And the title Glories of Srimad Bhagavatam just happens to match. Here's the screen. You can see the screen. You know, this Sukadeva Goswami. This is the picture I said they wanted something they could put on their advertisement page or something. So that's the picture I sent. The form of Sukadeva Goswami standing, kneeling before him is Maharaj Pariksit, and then the assembly of sages and other people. Because it's not just, there's obviously some sages, but there's some other people besides, renunciate sages, hearing the speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam. And it just so happens, in the course of preparing for all of this, there's a whole section in Padma Purana called Bhagavat Mahatmya, like several chapters. It's pretty astounding. And in that Bhagavata Mahatmya section, there's a very nice story, a description of something that you now have a PDF copy of. Yes? Did you get a copy? Online. You got it. Okay. You don't have to look at it now, but it's just so that you can look at it later. The storyline goes like this. There were two brothers, and one of the two brothers was very terrible, wicked, bad person, and he became a ghost when he died. And then there's a series of events that happened, and his brother, Brahmana brother, Gokarna, speaking Srimad Bhagavatam number of days, and his brother became freed from the ghost body and attained the spiritual world just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. There's details and details, but it's a description in Padma Purana describing the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, how powerful it is. So, and the title of that section is called The Glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. There's like several sections. And here's another section. Maybe you're familiar with this one. This is the BBT illustration, an ISKCON art illustration of a series of verses in Padma Purana, where it's comparing the cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam to the form of Krishna. Cantos 1 and 2 are Krishna's lotus feet. He has 2 feet. And cantos 3 and 4 are his legs. What happened to his legs? Thighs. Then canto 5 is his chest. Canto 6 is his chest. What happened? 5 is his navel. There we go. 6 is his chest. 7th and 8th are his 2 arms. This is just extracted, basically cut and paste from Padma Purana. 9th canto is his throat. 10th canto, blooming lotus face. 11th, his forehead. 12th, his head. And then the conclusion, I bow down to that Lord, the ocean of mercy, whose color is like that of a tamal tree and who appears in this world for the welfare of all. I worship him as the bridge for crossing the unfathomable ocean of material existence. Srimad Bhagavatam appeared as his very self. Padma Purana. Pretty nice. Not in this presentation to the Hindu community, but there's verses and verses and verses from Skanda Purana and Garuda Purana and Vishnu Purana and this Purana and that Purana, in addition to the many more from Padma Purana, specifically describing the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's really nice, but it's not for this evening. So now you don't have to see. This is Vyasadeva compiling Srimad Bhagavatam, all the Vedas, and he's way up on the mountain top. We're going to be going to that place. Those of us who will be going to Badrinath will go to the place where he did his writing. Some will be going. Anyone besides her? Is anyone else going? You're going. I'm going. There's 3 of us. 4 of us. You're going. Huh? She asked you to come. She twisted your arm, or you said, ouch? Something like that? Okay, good. So it's way, way, way up there where Vyas did his work. So that the painting is meant to show that. There's the Jamuna flowing down from where he was seated. And you know the history. We'll do a little bit of the Bhagavatam history. Actually, in the Bhagavatam, there's 2 places. The main reference that we hear is Krishna instructed Brahma, Brahma instructed Narada, Narada instructed Vyas. Disciplic succession. The Brahma Sampradaya. And Vyas, of his own right, he's an incarnation. And he has capacities to do the service that he did. And one of the capacities Vyas had was the ability to Trikalagya, the ability to see past, present, and future. So he looked into the future and he saw Kali Yuga's coming because his work of writing came shortly after Krishna's departure. So he was present during Krishna's pastimes, etc. But now that Krishna is gone, Kali Yuga will begin, and the symptoms of the age of Kali were known, and he knew one of the symptoms is people would become very weak in memory. And so he decided to preserve the Vedas in the sound vibration form. They should be in the written form. You all know this history. So he didn't just write the Vedas. There's details and details, but he divided the Shruti portion into 4, having to do with how the procedure of a Vedic sacrifice is to be performed. That requires 4 sets of mantras and 4 very qualified priests that know all the mantras, and together as a team they perform those rituals, reciting from memory Vedic mantras. And after compiling those 4, dividing the Vedas into 4, he wrote the Smriti portion, and then he wrote the Vedanta Sutra, and you know the history. He considered the work that he had done. It's just a standard procedure that people will do after you cook a meal or have a Krishna Janmashtami festival, or you do something. You paint a painting. You you write an essay or something. You step back, and how did it come out? Natural. So how did it come out? And as he was contemplating how it came out, the Bhagavatam. This is Canto 1, Chapter 7. He felt dissatisfied. And he was perplexed. Why am I feeling dissatisfied? And at the right time, Narada Muni came, and he asked Narada, why am I feeling this way? And Narada said, it's because you haven't sufficiently glorified the personality of Godhead. Now, all these other Puranas mentioned, they also speak about the glories of the personality of Godhead. That's what Puranas do, but not sufficiently, and not specifically emphasizing on Krishna, not specifically emphasizing spontaneous devotion to Krishna as found in Vraja, in the way that the Bhagavatam does. And so this is Canto 1, Chapter 7, Narada instructed Vyas to sit in trance of meditation, and what he would experience in that trance of meditation, that should be the basis of his next composition. He wrote a preliminary Srimad Bhagavatam, but it was much shorter, and now the expanded Srimad Bhagavatam is what we now have. And after some time, there's another nice painting, which you're probably familiar with. Vyasadeva was a householder. Oops. He had a wife, and his wife became pregnant. Seen this painting? Too bad we don't have a projector, huh? He's just now coming. I'm not blaming you. Oh, your fault. Wait, you think of me, you think of you have PowerPoints. They go together. So there's exception, but that's the rule. Okay. So Vyasadeva had a wife. The wife became pregnant, and the child in the womb, he had transcendental realization or Brahman realization, something very similar to the four Kumaras. They were Brahman realized, and they became transformed from Brahman realized to great devotees. And the method of how that happened is a little different in both cases. But in this case, in Sukadeva Goswami, because Sukadeva Goswami didn't want to become exposed to the contaminations of the age of Kali and become attracted to material allurements, he decided to stay within the womb of his mother. Now, most children don't have that choice, but he did. And he stayed there for a long time. Poor mama. He stayed there for 16 years. Poor, uncomfortable mother. So Vyasadeva was in anxiety. So he went all the way from the Himalayas to Dwarka and requested Krishna to come and take care of the problem. So Krishna came, and he promised the child within Vyasadeva's wife's womb that he would not fall prey to illusion. And so with that, Sukadeva decided to leave the womb. That's described. Here's another nice painting. BBT painting. Oh, Krishna. There. This is Sukadeva Goswami and he's leaving, and his father is calling him, come back, come back. And the Bhagavatam says all he heard was the echo of his own voice from the trees. He didn't come back. And so now what to do? Because he has this nice son and he wants to train his nice son to become a Vaishnava, not just a monist. So here's what he did. It's very intelligent. He sent someone singing verses. Oh, the painting shows there were some ladies that were bathing, and he was completely non moved by the half naked ladies. They were covering themselves, but he was paying no attention. He just kept walking. So he sent somebody into the forest to find him, and the way that they would find him is they would recite slokas from the Bhagavatam. And Sukadeva Goswami became attracted to the verses from the Bhagavatam. And so he came back to hear further from his father. And here's another nice painting that shows Krishna. Sukadeva Goswami sitting here, Vyasadeva sitting here, a number of other sages sitting there. And he's training him thoroughly in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So after training him thoroughly in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami is now very capable to explain Srimad Bhagavatam to others. Here's one of the verses from the same section. 1, 7, 10 is the verse. Many of you know the verse. If you know the verse, you can say it with me. Atmaramas chamonayo nirgranta api arukrame kurvanti ahaitukim bhaktim itambuta gunohari. Pretty good. It's a celebrated verse. I mean, it's called the Atmarama verse because it's about those who are already relishing happiness within Atma Rama, within the self, within the soul, self-realized souls. The translation, all different varieties of Atma Ramas, especially those established on the path of self-realization, Prabhupada's translation, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. An important concept, an important assertion, and this life of Sukadeva Goswami exemplified it. That is to say, he was already Brahman realized, but he became attracted to the description of the qualities of Krishna, which means the qualities of Krishna on the transcendental platform. He's not at all attracted to anything on the material platform, but he became very attracted to the description of the qualities of Krishna. And he came back to get further hearing and further training and instruction. Now, another nice painting that you can't see, but you know. During this time, after Krishna departed, what happened? One of the things that happened was the Pandavas, they also left. But when they left, they turned the kingdom over to their grandson. Who was their grandson? Maharaj Pariksit. Because Maharaj Pariksit was the son of Abhimanyu and Uttara. Abhimanyu was killed, his father was killed, and his uncles were killed. His father and uncles were killed. So he was the remaining member of the royal family. So he became the king, and he was a qualified king. And there's some, details and details, but one of those details is that it? Okay, you do your thing. One of those details is that kings had the responsibility to give protection to law abiding citizens and stop law breaking citizens. And to, if necessary, when circumstance required, to take the life of a wrongdoer. I mean, not whimsically, but they had to be prepared for that, to do battle against enemies and intruders, but to deal with wrongdoers. The kings had, because someone has to give protection. That's the Kshatriya. So, for that reason, not just getting a hunting license, but he was in the forest hunting, ready if necessary to deal with wild animals. And in the course of traveling in the forest, he something quite unnatural for him. He became overwhelmed with thirst. I go. Overwhelmed with thirst. This scene here reminds me very much of Valmiki acting out of character. The details are different, but the principle has some similarity. The principle is Valmiki saw what he saw, the hunter firing an arrow at the Krancha bird in the midst of their mating, and he cursed the Krancha bird, he cursed the hunter very, very strongly. And he was very surprised later. And Bharadraj, hearing him speak like that, was also very surprised. But later, when he went back to his cottage, Lord Brahma came and said, you were surprised, but you shouldn't be surprised. It was I who arranged for the goddess Saraswati to speak these words through you, because this is going to be the essence of a book that you're going to be composing. So it's the similarity is an out of character explosion that resulted in something very auspicious. And similarly, that's just what happened with Maharaj Pariksit. What happened with Maharaj Pariksit, look at that. What happened with Maharaj Pariksit is he became, unlike Maharaj Pariksit, who was a very sense-controlled individual, lost control of his senses. Come on, you got to do better than that. That's much better. At least it's... Here's a little table. Look at this. She's bringing a table. A little back would be good, because then the picture will be bigger. It's a nice picture. So Maharaj Pariksit, saw in the forest this little cottage. And there was a householder. He wasn't a renunciate. He was a family man, but he was off in the forest, engaged in meditation. And when the king came to the cottage, this is just cultural. Two things. He's a king, and he's used to commanding people. Second, he's a cultured person, very, very cultured person, and the sage, even as a brahmana receiving a kshatriya, when someone comes to your home, uninvited or unexpected, or expected or unexpected, there are three standard things, culturally things: a place to sit, offering some water, and some kind words. And anyone, even a poor person, can do those things. But the sage, Shamak Rishi, didn't acknowledge the king. The king specifically asked, and the sage was in meditation, and he didn't even hear the king. And so the king became disturbed, disturbed to the extent that he insulted the sage. He outside the hermitage, there was a dead snake on the ground, so he picked up the dead snake on the tip of his sword and draped the dead snake on the body of the sage and left angry and thirsty. Neither of those are of the nature of Maharaj Pariksit. It was purposeful, arranged by the internal potency of the personality of Godhead for a particular purpose. That is, he, Maharaj Pariksit, getting the opportunity to associate with Sukadeva Goswami. So here is the next scene, and the next scene is the son of the sage was around, Prabhupada speaks of being around 10 to 12 years of age, playing with his friends, and playing just like a little boy will play and play. And somehow he heard what had happened to his father, and he became very upset. The king has insulted my father. So he uttered a Brahminical curse that this king should die within 7 days from the bite of a serpent, a flying, venomous serpent, Tataksha. So he's a little boy, but this gives some indication, a few things, gives some indication of Brahminical power during that period of time, even a little boy. And so when the king was informed of this curse, he decided, I'll accept the curse. I could try to counter the curse, but I did a wrong thing. I lost my temper and I insulted a Brahmana, so I deserve to die. So he went through the procedure of passing his kingdom on to his son, Janamejaya, and leaving all of his royal attire and paraphernalia and everything, prepared to leave this world. And so, as that painting that we showed at the very beginning, this is a similar one. He's standing. There are other ones where he's sitting. And he went to the shore of the river to fast till death. Different sages came to be present. And in the midst of those sages that were present, by divine arrangement, Sukadeva Goswami just happened to come. And the Maharaj Pariksit, and all the sages recognized his qualification. They gave him a special place to sit. And he then narrated Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Pariksit. That's the scene of is the little slide at the beginning saying the history. That's how Srimad Bhagavatam was first manifest. It was first manifest in the heart of Vyas, and according to the instruction of Narada. And then he wrote it, and then he taught it to his son. And now his son is teaching it to Maharaj Pariksit. This is the painting showing the snake bird coming and biting the King Pariksit. And everyone is astonished that, that this little boy could make such a curse that the king is killed. And in the audience hearing from Maharaj Pariksit was Sutta Goswami, and then later the sages of Naimisharanya. They were planning to perform an extended yagya, one yagya after the next yagya, after the next yagya, for a long period of time. And in their midst came Sutta Goswami. And so they wanted to hear Sutta Goswami hear what he heard from Maharaj Pariksit. And that's what we have. The first canto, it's Sutta speaking, but in the whole text, then he's speaking, Sukadeva said this to Maharaj Pariksit, etc. That's the context of the history of the Bhagavatam being manifest. Here's a verse I really like, not the entire verse. This Bhagavad Purana, this is the second verse of the entire Bhagavatam. First three verses are kind of introductory verses to the whole Bhagavatam. I like this one. This Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries, tapatrayon. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasa in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of the Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Now, my plan is, in the course of whenever I have the opportunity in different segments, in different angles of vision, present the importance and relevance of Srimad Bhagavatam in our lives. In part, it's because of the month of Badra that we're in. Balaram appears during the full moon during the month of Shravan, and then Krishna appears 8 days of the waning moon, and then continuing on to the full moon, we have time leading up to the Badra Purnima festival. So there's other festivals in between it, of course, Radhastami, etc. But it's an important festival. And the Bhagavatam is an important book. It's the mission that our founder Acharya came to America to bring to the Western world. He came with him to Canto 1, 3 parts, and continued assiduously in the wee hours of the morning, providing us with Srimad Bhagavatam translation and purports. I like the phrase very much. It's reality distinguished from illusion. We spent a lot of time yesterday evening. There were a number of teenagers in the assembly, so I was kind of like engaging with them in how to understand reality distinguished from illusion. How to understand anything. How do you understand the difference between reality and illusion? How do you understand anything? How do you understand anything about anything? We discussed it. Means of proof or evidence, or the means of understanding something. The direct perception, reason, logic, and shabda. Hearing from authority. And aparushaya shabda is the best. That's the Vedas. And then amongst the Vedas, the best is the Srimad Bhagavatam, the ripened fruit of Vyasadev's compiling of the Vedas, and so forth and so on. It's many, many, many nice things to say. We'll hear as we go forward. It's nice to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the topic, the heading, the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's nice to glorify, it's nice to hear, it's nice to remember, it's nice to make that same opportunity available for others. Something happens when you make the opportunity available to others. You get Krishna's mercy. That's the Hare Krishna movement. We receive and we give. Shravanam, Kirtanam. That's our process. And gradually, as it says here, for the upliftment for the benefit of the entire civilization, the whole world. Here's a similar verse that comes in the 12th canto. This Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedanta philosophy because its subject matter is the absolute truth, which, while non-different from the spirit soul, is the ultimate reality, one without a second. The goal of this literature is exclusively devotional service unto that supreme truth. It's not that the other parts of the Vedas don't address the supreme truth. In fact, all of the Vedas deal with addressing the supreme truth. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Vedaishta sayarvair aham eva vedyo. The purpose of the Vedas is to understand him. At the same time, a vast portion of the Vedas is dealing with the three modes of material nature. And Krishna states that in Bhagavad Gita. Trigunya Vishaya Veda, Nishtrigunya Bhavarjana. The Vedas deal mainly with the three modes of material nature, rise above the three modes of material nature. He doesn't say rise above the Vedas, because even those Vedas that are like parts of the desire tree, Kalpataru, that gives fulfillment of desires, fulfillment of necessities, by approaching the Vedic system, by approaching and accepting the authority of the Vedic system, one is becoming purified, eligible to go beyond those material desires and the entanglements in the modes of nature up to the point of transcendence. So even in those indirect sections of the Vedas, the absolute truth is the ultimate objective. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is explicitly, that the way this verse, the previous verse, this one, it starts, I didn't include it because I don't want to say this to the Hindu temple people tomorrow. Dharmak projita kaitavotra. But then paramo nirmat saranam satam, the highest truth. Because they're not going to like the first part. Dharma projita kaitavotra. Cheating dharma. Cheating doesn't mean like it's deceiving people. It's allowing people to fulfill their desires on the material plane, but that's not the objective of the Vedas. And therefore the ultimate purpose isn't being fulfilled directly. It is implicit indirectly. It's implied indirectly. Anyway, the Bhagavatam is just one thing, the highest truth. Understandable by those devotees who are pure in heart, fully pure in heart. Reality distinguished from illusion. So much of Prabhupada's speaking, if anyone has heard his recorded lectures, he hammers on some of the same points again and again and again. The fallibility of expecting happiness through fruitive activities. And through fruitive activities, gaining assets, and with those assets, trying to enjoy the fruits of your work. It's material life. And trying to enjoy the fruits of, trying to be the enjoyers of the temporary. And it's a futile plan. I want to move on to the importance of the Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically the image is showing a young person. And the Lord becomes fixed in the heart. Similar verse from the first canto. Here's the second canto, chapter 8. Shrunvata asrataya nityam grinantas cha sva cheshtatam kalena nati dirgena bhagavan vishate hridi. Persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time. Now, what does that short time mean? That's a relative statement. Short time. Short compared to what? Compared to long. Lifetimes and lifetimes of pravriti, path of progressive material prosperity. And there's a section of the Vedas that deals with that. So it's a shortcut. But in a very short time is relative. And that relativity very much, almost exclusively depends upon the sincerity of purpose of the performer. I'm going to share a little something. Just yesterday at the end of that program, one young man came. I know the family very well. He's one of those youth that's like super excellent kirtan performers. You probably have some here. Yes? No? Yes. No? Yes. Okay, all communities have. And he is super excellent. Not just one instrument, but multiple instruments. He's very, musically inclined. He shared something with me yesterday. What do I do? Because I don't feel the same enthusiasm in performing music that I did before. What to do? It's yenatma suprasidati. He's not feeling the happiness within. I said that's he's an elevated person. Most kids don't do like that. I was in Houston, for a japa retreat some time ago. This is focusing on youth, part of the conversation. So, because it was a japa retreat, because they have enthusiastic youth, they asked me to sit with the youth and have some japa retreat kind of inspiration with the youth. So I decided to start with, can any of you share with me why it is that, at least my observation is, that your generation, they really like kirtan and really don't like japa? Could you share with me what your thoughts are, why it's like that? And there were two answers. One of the answers was music. I said, do you like other music besides kirtan? Oh yeah, I like other music besides kirtan. I like music. He's not the voice of the youth. It's just that particular person. Went on. We didn't get very far. He was a little abrasive in his speech. And then the next one was social. I like the companionship, getting together with kids my age, and we do music together, and there's the social buzz. So I like that. It strengthens my relationship with my friends. But what's the foundation of that relationship? I didn't get a clear answer. These are my friends. So kind of clueless as to, okay, what about japa? Have you ever think of chanting japa? Never think of it. Never think of it. Not like, it wasn't any hesitation. It was that's one individual. There were others that didn't speak up like he spoke up. They were the first two that raised their hand. The others that are sadhakas, and their spirit is different. But how do you get that? You know, many here are parents or will be parents or have grown up children or whatever the situation is. But it's a concern for the next generation, how to continue the spirit of Krishna Bhakti, so it doesn't just get watered down by Kali Yuga stuff and distractions, and it's not just young people; it's all kinds of people. I traveled maybe too much, and one of the things that surprises me, like anything, is what people do when they're sitting there in the plane. It's not just kids; they're doing those brain numbing things with their phone. I don't know what it is. It's just like they press some buttons and some balls go this way and that way, and some play cards, and so it's just brain numb stuff for the whole travel. Well dressed people, etc., etc. So the cultures, Kali Yuga is progressing, and what's the plan? The plan is Srimad Bhagavatam. That was the mission of our founder Charya. Knowing well in advance. I mean, not necessarily from direct experience, but in principle, Kali Yuga is advancing in the places where they're exactly what he writes in the purport to 112. He writes, generally speaking, people are interested in prosperity because they want sense gratification. If you have prosperity, you have more facility for sense gratification. And in Vedic times, that prosperity was based upon performance of yajna or sacrifice. But if the prosperity and the facility for sense gratification comes without God, then who needs God? He disappears. Or the godliness. So many of the things Prabhupada writes in the Western countries have come from their forefathers that were very religious. And the religiousness isn't the same as it used to be because people already have the prosperity built upon their forefathers. And one could say the same thing, as Prabhupada was writing specifically about the Western people. One can say the same thing about persons born in India. And the more and more and more and more and more, there is a tendency for prosperity through developments of technology, and people then neither have the time nor the interest for sincerely and seriously, regularly, and are always taking the matter very seriously, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, if there isn't time for it because one is too busy being successful in material prosperity, then it's a very sad situation looking into the future. Now, specifically, the image that was selected here was a young person. And I'll make mention again. Here's a young person that came to me last night. I know him from when he was a little boy, and now he's approaching college age. And really, really, nice family. He's not a wild. He's a well-behaved young man, but not feeling satisfied with his musicality. I was really happy that he's not satisfied with the musicality. It doesn't mean give up the musicality. He has a gift, but now how to take it to the next level, to the real level that what it's intended to be. The dovetail is incomplete without the connecting with the pleasure of Krishna. And same with Bhagavatam. There's many, 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 so many. I'll just share with you. I'm spending hours preparing for the Badrinath Yatra. And it's amazing how many personalities achieved high stages of spiritual attainment in Haridwar, Rishikesh, and Badrinath. There's abundance, and I'm learning things that I didn't pick up on because we're going there, but here's some example. It's the place where Dhritarashtra went on the advice of Vidura. To Rishikesh, no, Haridwar, to perform austerities. And he was very capable, but it took a kick in the seat of the pants by Vidura. Strong language, and he had respect for his younger brother because his younger brother was pure, and his younger brother, having just heard the entire Srimad Bhagavatam from Maitreya, there's a history of how that happened. He heard, then he went straight back to Hastinapur and gave his brother the sauce. The language in the Bhagavatam is really heavy. But he accepted his advice. He left, went to Haridwar, underwent great austerities, sacrifices, Agnihotra, etc., specifically spoken, and Gandhari went with him. And his intensity was so significant that in trance of meditation, his body burst into flames. In Haridwar, and Gandhari entered into the fire. The Bhagavatam says, Prabhupada in the purport writes, because although he attained a very high state, his ultimate position was liberation, but not the spiritual world, because he was inimical to the Pandavas. He wasn't specifically inimical to the Pandavas. He was supportive of his son, who was inimical to the Pandavas like anything. And he was an accomplice because he could have stopped it, but he didn't. And so he's an accomplice. So he's responsible. Now one can become free from reactions of bad deeds, but he wasn't eligible to return to the spiritual world. He achieved, doesn't specify what type of liberation, some type of liberation, not return to Vaikuntha. Anyway, there's many, many, many things. Where Jamila went to perform his austerities after being rescued by the Vishnu Dutas. Haridwar. Many, 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 many. It's wonderful, 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 wonderful examples. Wonderful examples. So it's fascinating. I'm making mention of this. It's fascinating to learn all these stories, but is it sufficient to just know the stories? That you have a lot of information in your information basket, and you display this information, that information from your information basket, and it's like this teenager that knows how, excellent musician, he's not satisfied. That's not where satisfaction comes. It's a doorway, it's a dovetail, but the benefit is not just learning all these things. There's nothing wrong with learning all these things. But it's not the essence. What's the essence? And Srimad Bhagavatam presents the essence, that reality distinguished from illusion, in simple language. Vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayan mulanam. So hearing and hearing and hearing brings the cleansing, but then after the cleansing, then what? Then awakening. What's the awakening? Our real relationship with Krishna. So there's potency within the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, even for worldly people. What to speak of semi-pious, what to speak of knowledgeable, what to speak of keep going up. It's for everyone. There's a transcendental literature satisfying and meaningful for everyone. So here's the last slide. This is the Badra Purnima slide. Canto 12, Chapter 13, Text 13. This is very small print, but I'll read it. If on the full moon day of the month of Badra, one places Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne and gives it as a gift, he will attain the supreme transcendental destination. Now, it doesn't say how long it's going to take, but it's, Chipram Bhavati Dharmatma. It's something that's never taken away. It's a permanent asset. Anything else is taken away. Anything else is taken away. But that which is of the soul and the soul's eternal relationship with Krishna. So Krishna is very pleased. And our life is meant for that purpose. There's a potency within the Srimad Bhagavatam. What Prabhupada did, and it asks us to assist him in doing, that's this principle. No, it can happen. Doesn't have to. You don't have to wait for Badra Purnima, but it's a principle. But there's something special about this. It's invested with. It's like today's Ekadasi. Ekadasi is just another day of the phases of the moon, but it's an auspicious day, and therefore there's verses and verses and verses and descriptions of the benefits to be derived by whatever is done in devotion to Krishna on Ekadasi day, because it's an auspicious day. Similarly, Badra Purnima is an auspicious day. It's an auspicious time to do that which is already auspicious. Being charitable is the duty of a householder. You all know that. And there's no discomfort in being charitable. It's an act of goodness. And when acts of goodness are performed in ways that their acts of goodness are to be performed, there's purification and a happiness. And then there's the transcendental happiness that's beyond mode of goodness happiness. And that's connecting that charitableness in relation to that which is pleasing to Krishna. So this is a very special opportunity. I'm going to be spending a little more, but in the course of the time spent with the devotees here, speaking on this topic directly and indirectly, mostly indirectly, but directly, so to some degree. It's the Puranam Amalam. Amongst all the Puranas, it's the Amala Purana, capable of delivering anything and everything, especially purity. So let's see if there's some discussion. I hope that doing this hasn't caused a problem for the festival organizers.
We are good, Maharaj. Thanks for the class. I just have one clarity needed on the last statement, Maharaj. You said that Srimad Bhagavatam is for everyone.
Yes.
And then what to speak about for the devotees, in a sense, is going to be.
Yes.
Then how do we understand that you're trying to state Dharma Prochita Kaita Vatra Paramo Nirmasaranam Satam, that sloka, where it says the Vedas are sometimes misleading, though it has the essence, it's misleading. It is also for everyone. Srimad Bhagavatam is also for everyone. I'm just trying to understand that statement. Vedas also trying to satisfy everyone, and Srimad Bhagavatam is trying to satisfy everyone. Vedas also has the essence. Srimad Bhagavatam also essence. Then where is the second sloka comes into the picture of Dharma Prochita Kaitava? I'm trying.
We had. Thank you. I understand the question because we had this discussion twice in Naperville before coming here. Right? I'm familiar with the question. The way that you expressed it is different, but I understand where the question is coming from. There are three ways to keep it simple. Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nishtrigunya Vivarjana. Krishna isn't recommending to reject the Vedas. Krishna is recommending that spirit of the Vedas that involves one in the three modes of material nature, that is to be abandoned. Nishtrigunya Vivarjana. So if you, it's same, dharma projita kaita votra. If you kick out, or sarvadharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam praja, it's not that Krishna is advocating, don't stop being a dharmic person. He's not advocating abandon dharma, abandon that aspect of dharma that's meant for material elevation. Just like, culture. It's not advisable to be an uncultured person. Just like mentioning, the king became upset because here's a brahmana, okay, he's the brahmana, he's to be respected by me, although I'm the king, he's the brahmana. But someone comes to your house, a cultured person, does these three things. And he didn't do any of those three things. What kind of brahmana is this? So you don't abandon culture, you don't abandon dharma, but the purpose of dharma that's meant for material elevation, the three modes of material nature, the same principle. That portion of the Vedas, that dimension of the Vedas that's cheating, kaitava dharma, that is, it robs the soul of the ultimate purpose, that is to be left to the side. This Bhagavatam leaves that to the side. Well, it provides, from spiritual well-being, material well-being follows. Like a shadow follows the object that casts a shadow. People that are prosperous is because they're pious. That the idea is stop being pious and become a garbage person. Become transcendental person. And that's spiritual well-being. And the material well-being follows. We don't need to be focused on the material well-being part. It'll follow. We're not negligent in material well-being. We take care of our health. We do our duties. We obey the law. We're not lawbreakers. But it's not. That's the essence of a good, virtuous person is not just follow the laws, the vidhis of dharma. That's not it. We don't abandon them. It's not the essence. It's focus on reality distinguished from illusion. That's the phrase. The illusion is that's all in all, and the reality is that's not all in all. And we don't trash it, but it's not all in all. We focus on the essence. Bhakti is Vyavasayatmika Bodhi Ekeha Kudanandana. That's the message. The message of Bhagavad Gita, further expanded in Bhagavatam. So the part that's left behind is the aspiration for material well-being. So someone may go for the Vedas for material well-being, period. And they have some faith, and this is going to bring material well-being. And it does. But the greater part is faith in the Vedas. So something that's kind of like an indirect enticement to have faith in the Vedas is I get what I want. I prosper. You want good health? Worship this way. You want wealth? You worship that way. You want progeny? You worship that way. You may do other things too, but you don't leave the spirituality or the dharma to the side. So the advocacy is not kick out the stop being a dharmic person. Here's a nice example. It's like scriptural, nice example I like. When Vasudeva was in Dwarka, he's a pure devotee. You know, his mind is so pure that Krishna appeared in his mind. And from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki and all that, he's pure. He's pure. And they're in Dwarka, and he's performing this Karmakanda ritual. For the not for his well-being, for the citizens in Dwarka and their well-being, and all the devas came to receive the offerings that were offered to the Vedas, offered to the devas. He wasn't ignoring, he wasn't with that purpose. Just, satisfied Narayana. No, it takes subtle intelligence, to take a purified intelligence, and purified and subtle intelligence to make that distinction, because most people don't make that distinction. You know, why was Nanda Maharaj going to perform Shivaratri? He's a worshipper of Narayan, right? So skip it. He's Vedic. But when he's worshiping, what's the consciousness behind that worshiping? A great devotee of Narayana. And he's honoring him in that auspicious day, in that auspicious way. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't throw, while the essence is being pursued, we don't neglect the detail. But if you're just focusing on the detail, that's what these verses are speaking about. Minus the essence. That, reality distinguished from illusion. Leave the illusion to the side. You want to say something further? Go ahead.
No, just a clarification. So the Srimad Bhagavatam also caters different types of people.
Yeah.
But in essence is.
Well, here's a detail. In chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita, there's a verse where Krishna says, this should not be taught to those who are not austere and, not prepared to receive it because they'll offend it. And then the very next verse, Krishna says, there's no one more dear to me than he who teaches this teaching. The Prabhupada, he spoke on that verse in a number of cities and a number of times of the year and a number of places. Devotees take a risk, although Krishna is enjoining this way, we take a risk because the Supreme Lord he's giving this caution, but our task is to make people that are unregulated become regulated, and also unwholesome to become wholesome. Like this teenager. I mean, it was a moving event because I know the family, I know the young man. And for him to express that it touched me. Not all young people are going to come to that position that realize that's not what happiness is. And how do I find satisfaction again? Because there was satisfaction just, getting the riff down with the musicality. But it's not satisfying anymore like it was. So it's the bhakti progression that provides an opportunity because the holy name is at the center, or the Bhagavatam is at the center, or the deity worship is at the center, or honoring the Janmashtami festival. All kinds of people come for Janmashtami, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what do they do the rest of the time? But it's little drops. It's swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate. It's so for the indirect people that they get bhakti and stuff. They're social, they're musical, their prosperity, the stuff. It's not the essence, but it's not discarded. Krishna doesn't take it away from them. Eventually, he may take it away, but that's special. His special mercy.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Anyone else? Nobody else. Okay. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, I wanted to ask, Bhagavatam is for everyone, but then the highest truth will be revealed to one who is pure in heart.
Yes. So they get something, they may not get the highest truth. It's like the sunshine. It's for everyone. You can't see without sunshine. I mean, with electricity, but
I have one more follow-up, Guru Maharaj. Bhagavatam gives extreme examples. Extreme examples, like for a simple offense, a big curse. We see.
But what's going on? What's going on? It's an arrangement of the Supreme Lord so that Srimad Bhagavatam can be received to the world. And therefore, the extreme. You want to be the coordinator of all events, go right ahead. But Krishna's a better quarterback than you. So if it's extreme, it's okay. It can be mild or in between or extreme. It's drama. Krishna likes drama, and he orchestrates drama how he likes.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Not only in Pariksit, in other pastimes also we see Vritarashtra, Prahlad Maharaj, all those.
Sometimes it's mild and sometimes it's extreme. It's okay. Don't judge.
No, I'm talking for Kali Yuga. Like we are in Kali Yuga, those extreme examples, how we. I know Krishna is doing for the pastimes, and he accomplished manifold reasons and instructions through each pastime. But the examples are, I felt like it was, is there any reason why it's all extreme examples?
Is there a reason why what?
The pastimes, the devotees, what they go through, all that, all very extreme.
I don't understand what you're saying. Do you understand what she's saying? What's she saying?
The simple thing is if you want to say, if someone makes a mistake, and rather than just be keeping it as forgive you or take a slap on, rather than doing things like that, giving a big curse.
Well, it's Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga has begun. A little boy has some capacity and he misuses it. Kali Yuga has begun. The main thing for us, you and me, and the rest of us, is Krishna has a plan. Now he doesn't want Kali Yuga, but people want to become degraded, so he gives them facility to become degraded. And when they become degraded, they do bad stuff. And Brahmanas are the starters of bad stuff. No, not if those who misuse Brahminical power. That's the starter of bad stuff. Because Brahmanas properly guided and properly guiding others, then they protect society better than the Kshatriyas protect society. Kshatriyas follow anyway behind the Brahmanas. But if there's not qualified Brahmanas, then Kshatriyas won't be properly guided either. And they'll be abusive. So yes, it's extreme for a purpose. And one of the main purposes, that's three mains, is that the Srimad Bhagavatam can be narrated. for our benefit. So here we are, so many thousand years later, benefiting from the extreme. Could it be done? Could the same thing have happened more mildly, please? That's in Krishna's hand. I'm not going to judge Krishna's choice of events. He felt he felt great remorse. So much so that when he heard that he's received this curse, he could have, I mentioned it, he could have done X, Y, Z to counteract. He didn't try anything to counteract. I accept it. That's his quality. So the behavior was out of character. The acceptance was in character. And what the Brahmin boy did was Kali Yuga. Somebody with power misusing power. Abuse of power is not a new thing. It's certainly a Kali Yuga thing. It was one of the first signs of here's Kali Yuga. A little boy got a little power and he misuses it. Kali Yuga. So why do harsh things happen in Kali Yuga? Because it's a harsh age. Why does it get cold in the winter? It's a cycle of time. Winter season. It's a harsh age. Kali Yuga is a harsh age. And that you don't like it is good. So now what? Become transcendental. Don't fault Krishna. Become transcendental. Something else? Yes?
Can I just share?
Yeah.
I mean, I really like the way that you were just saying is about the devotee's life where Krishna wants to take over and do things to teach something to the world.
Yeah.
So as we read from Srimad Bhagavad Gita says, as Krishna takes three positions as when a person given a choice, he's been given a free will to make a decisions. He doesn't interfere in the decision making. He is udasina. And then once a decision is made, then the person who is getting into an action, Anumanta, he gets into the second stage where he approves that action, whether it's good or bad action, is going to take a position of approving. But then when it comes to his dear devotees, he takes the third position as Dyutaka, means he takes over the control of the life of the pure devotees, where he runs a show for them according to how he desire in their life. And that's exactly what we see in Pariksit Maharaj. And
he was in the fast lane back to Godhead. And he wasn't saying, why me? Why so harsh? He got Krishna's mercy. Sukadeva Goswami ki jai for 7 days. Anything over here?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So we hear from the Bhagavatam that Kali Yuga is progressing and obviously things are not looking very good for the future of humanity. But at the same time, the Golden Age has started.
At the same time what?
The Golden Age.
Golden Age.
Of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, 100,000 years or 10,000 years of 10,000 years. And so does this mean that this can slow down the degradation of
those who take advantage of it? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And supposing there are those that don't take advantage of it, then it's like the light of the sun. When it's night, there's no sun. But supposing somebody is like, they're in a house and they're not out in the direct sunlight, but there's light in the coming through the window. But somebody lives in a cave, then they don't get benefit. Lives under a rock, there's no benefit. It's a very nice verse in Queen Kunti's prayers that says exactly that. The sun is not, as the sun is not, what's the word? Showing special privilege or priority or favoritism towards one or another. The sun is shining everywhere, and then different persons, according to their position, they accept, according to their position, the benefit of the sun. Partial, that's the word. He's impartial. So if someone can anyway. One can receive the benefit or not receive the benefit of the golden age, but everyone gets some benefit because the chanting is going on in the world, and the propagating of the message of Krishna is going on in the world. So it's some light in this dark age for everyone, regardless.
So there is a benefit for everyone.
Yeah. But it's not the full benefit is not for people who hide under rocks. Okay. That's it. Srila Prabhupada ki.